and welcome to this edition of All About Hopkinton, the original HCAM series created to bring you the people and the organizations that help make this community a great place to live. There are a lot of people dedicating their time, energy, and talents to improve some aspect of life in our town. I'm honored to sit here and talk with them and share their stories. Joining me now is John Ritz. He's a member of the Trails Club, also a great volunteer at HCAM, and so much more. Welcome, John. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Mary. Good to be back.
Yeah, this is a really special show because first we're going live, which we don't
Always a fun thing.
Yeah, that's it. And we have a new crew tonight that's going through the HCAM workshop.
Welcome
and
to all of you.
they're all here doing the show with us.
What a blast.
Yeah, that's
We started a very long time ago.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? We went through the workshops.
Yes, we did. And look where we are now.
Yep, and here we are in front of the cameras now. So.
Fun.
Well, we're going to start by, I know a lot of people in town know you because you're involved in many things, but we have a lot of new people in town also. Sure. So I'd like to start with you giving a little bit of background, when you came to Hopkinton or anything you want to share with us.
Sure. I was born in Pennsylvania, but I grew up mostly outside Albany, New York. Came to Boston for college and pretty much never left. I went away for grad school and then came back in. Moved to Hopkinton almost 28 years ago. Met my wife at the company that I worked with. I had a career in software development doing electronic medical records. And so my wife Jane, met her there. Our son Andy was born here in Hopkinton, went through the whole school system, and both Jane and Andy are also HCAM volunteers.
Yes, I was going to mention that. It's like a family affair when you're involved in HCAM, which is really good. And we're going to talk a lot about your involvement in HCAM and that. But I wanted to start with the Trails Club. It's a very important organization in town. Yeah. So maybe you can share with us, what is the Trails Club and what do they do?
Well, I'll start with here in Hopkinton, we're really fortunate. We have a lot of great open space and trails here, and we have a town that supports them and a government that supports them a lot. The Trails Club is a bunch of volunteers that love these trails, and we're out there and we're thinking, boy, other people should see these. So our mission is to show people the trails and advance them as much as we can, promote them. One of the things we do is we have a monthly walk where we'll guide residents out on a trail that maybe they've wondered about or maybe they didn't know even existed. We are not associated with the government, with the town at all. We're completely just all volunteers. But we do work a lot with the town government. Some of our members are on boards and committees, or we'll just work with the town to build a new trail, to suggest a trail, to suggest purchasing a piece of property, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you do the walks because I've been on, well, I know at least one I've been on. I try to make more, but it seems my schedule doesn't allow it. But they are wonderful. Yeah. And you have one coming up, I think, very soon.
We have one on Sunday in the town's town forest. Most people don't even know that Hopkinton has a town forest that happens to be right outside my neighborhood. So I'm in there a couple of times a week. But yeah, this Sunday we're going to be out walking that and showing it off to people.
And how is it that you got interested in the Trails Club, and when did you join them?
Trails is kind of a long story. I guess it goes back almost to my great-grandfather. I come from a long line of outdoors people. I have pictures of my great-grandfather and his family camping on the shores of Lake Erie, and I was named after him, so maybe it came down through him. His son, my grandfather, was a massive outdoorsman. He and his brothers used to go camping in the Adirondacks for weeks and weeks at a time. The story is that he came back one time after one of these extended stays, and my mother started crying because she didn't recognize him because he was a stranger. So after that, he stopped going out for so long, but he always stayed with the outdoors stuff. Actually taught my mother how to shoot, bought her a rifle, all of that. That passed down through my whole family. I'm one of 5 kids, and we were born at a time when my mother would throw us out the house in the morning and say, be back at dinner time, and that was it. And it was up to us to explore. So we all got comfortable with being out on our own, with exploring, with being outdoors. My brothers took me on my first hike up what they called a mountain when I was 4 years old, my 4th birthday. And I've been hiking ever since. Joined Boy Scouts and did hikes in Vermont and in New Mexico with them. After I came back to Boston after grad school, started doing hikes in the White Mountains. So I've just always been comfortable being outdoors and seeing that as the place to spend my time. When I moved into Hopkinton, as I say, the town forest is right outside my neighborhood, and there's a big sign that says Town Forest and Trail. So I'm thinking, this is cool. I'm going to start exploring that on my own. And then sometime after we were here, I saw a notice that this new group, the Hopkinton Trails Club, was forming, and they were having a hike over at College Rock. And I had been to College Rock a few times on my own, but I thought, this sounds like a neat group. So I went on that hike, and I've been with them ever since. That was in 2005. So we just celebrated our 15th anniversary.
Well, you have a lot of nice memories from your childhood and all the way up to now as things you've done outdoors and gotten involved with them. And you anticipated one of my questions. I was going to ask you, how did you actually get interested in becoming a member of the Trails Club? So that's kind of what you saw that sign and it piqued your interest, huh?
That's it. It's fine. The Trails Club, like I say, is so informal. We struggle with the idea that we're called members because there isn't a membership list. We're a big email list more than anything. But from, it was sort of a gradual involvement with the club. At one of the early meetings, I said, we should have a website. And they said, that's a good idea. So I became the webmaster for the Trails Club, and that evolved into, now I handle pretty much all of the outreach. So I do the email list, I do the website, I do the Facebook page, the Twitter account. I'm in charge of mostly letting people know what we're up to. And I also lead a lot of the hikes, so.
I was going to say, well, I'm glad you still find time, though, to actually go on the walks and and the hikes and everything with all the media stuff that you're doing for them and promoting them.
But it's good. We've had hikes with 45 people. We've had hikes with one person. And we don't care. We just want people to get out and see the trails and learn about them. Because once you're out on a trail, you think, I like this trail, I want it to continue, I want it maintained. People get involved with the trails.
Well, you mentioned maintain, because I think, hasn't the Trails Club often maintained or helped improve the trails in town?
That's one of the things we do. So in addition to leading the walks, and for that, I almost think of us like park rangers, that we're showing off these trails. But we also organize maintenance activities, getting people out and cleaning up trails. We had a group from EMC that I worked with to fix up Berry Acres. And then we have just other events that we're doing. We have a Trails Forum that we're starting to plan. It's our 4th annual Town Trail Forum, and we just talk about here's what's happened in the trails the last year.
Now, when you say trails, these trails are all officially trails that they can't be used for anything else, or it's property that can't be bought and sold to somebody, or
it's all town open space. There are more than 30 named trail systems in town, and when I say systems, some of these will have multiple trails a lot of trails in them. There's been a change recently. A year or two ago, the town formed a trail committee, and that's really taken over a lot of the things that the Trails Club used to do.
But a lot of the trails in town actually connect to trails outside of town too, right?
Yes. So we have trails that go into Upton State Forest, trails that go into Ashland, all of the adjoining towns. People always ask about the bike trail down in Milford, and we hear, when is Hopkinton going to get a trail like that? And the fact is, we're working on it. There is an Upper Charles Trail Committee in town that is working to build that trail.
Well, that's a good place for us to stop for a second, because we got to take a commercial break here, and then we will be back and we'll talk more about the Trails Club and other things.
All right.
So we'll take our break now and we'll be back.
About the number of breweries. This week on Business Matters, Tim Kilduff sits down and talks to Ted Twitty, co-owner of Statline Growing.
And you have a good-sized tap room right now, you're pretty well prepared for success. More important than that, I think everybody who's in business has to have a good product, right? And good customer service and know their market. It's no different in the beer world. What's I think not apparent to
Are you worried about letting your child take the wheel? Maybe you should also be worried about what you're doing behind the wheel. Have you ever sent a quick text, just this once? Well, that might turn into a catastrophic accident. Monkeys see what monkeys do. If you do it, why wouldn't your child? In a child's brain, almost all things their parents do, they can do too. 78% of teen drivers surveys text and drive. 59% said their parents do it too. Stop texting and driving, because if you do it, your child will too.
Beauty calls and gives no warning.
This week on Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, it's poet Jason Tandon.
Japanese poetry. I love Chinese poetry. I love haiku. And so this is a haiku-like poem. And this will be the sort of last one in the kind of winter series. So it's got a long title and it's a very short poem. It's called...
So, John, we're back from our break, so welcome back to our audience and everyone. And we were talking about the Trails Club, and we covered quite a bit of information, which was really nice. But there's some other things that we hadn't mentioned that I was hoping you could talk about, and that's some of the things that happen with the Trails Club, like the arts and the night of the trails. And,
It's kind of an exciting time for the trails in town. We have, in addition to the Trails Club, we have 2 trail committees, and I mentioned the Upper Charles Trail Committee, which is working to connect up Hopkinton's portion of that bike trail that will connect to Milford. We have the TCMC, Trail Coordination and Management Committee, which is in charge of all the trails in town, and they're figuring out what they're doing. But the Trails Club, we have a couple of really cool things coming up, sort of short term, very short term. Tomorrow, there is a talk at the Senior Center called by Easy Walks. A woman, Marjorie Turner Holman, has written a couple of books about easy walks in the area. They're usually about 2 miles long, and she has some troubles walking and dealing with things, but she loves the outdoors and didn't want to give it up, so she started writing books. So that's going to be a talk tomorrow morning at the Senior Center. I mentioned Sunday, I'm leading a walk in the town forest. And if you go to the Trails Club website, you'll see all the information there. Further out, the Art on the Trail event is coming back. And people who have been in town for a while remember this. We had artwork all up and down the center trail. And I jokingly said that brought more people onto the center trail than anything the Trails Club had ever done before. And it was wonderful. These art installations were all there. So that's coming back. The Hopkinton Cultural Council is coordinating that, working with the Trails Club, working with other organizations in town. And it's going to be this summer. I've forgotten the exact dates, but that'll be published. But they're going to have pieces of art all up and down the trail, and they'll be out for at least a week. Now I'm hearing maybe up for a month. So that'll be exciting.
how do they protect them from the weather? They actually have them...
You tell the artist that they are not going to be protected from the weather.
Oh.
So your artwork, the artists are told what it's going to be like.
So they prepare something that'll endure the rain or whatever might happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the other thing that the Trails Club is working on, I don't know if people attended Holliston's first night celebration, but Holliston, on their portion of the rail trail for a couple of years now, on New Year's Eve, they have an evening event on their trail with bonfires and musicians and food, and it's a lot of fun. And a bunch of us went to it this year and came back and said, can't we do that on the center trail? Mm-hmm. So we aren't going to do it on New Year's Eve because we don't want to step on their toes, but we're in the planning stages of doing something like that here in Hopkinton on the center trail for one evening, get people out, get some art, get some music, get people out on the trail to enjoy it at a different time.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like the Trails Club is ever evolving, lots of good events.
It's a lot of fun.
And we'll make sure again that for our audience, if you're looking for information, the Trails Club website will be listed at the end of the show in the credits.
Yep.
They can always go out to the website and find out what's happening and when.
Absolutely.
And if they're interested, certainly get involved, more than if they just want to go to an event, but also if they want to become a member and jump in and,
Yep.
and help out.
It's always good.
So we mentioned HCAM. We'll be putting it at the end of the show, the website, and now we're going to jump into talking about HCAM
I've
because
heard of HCAM.
I know you put in many hours because I see you
Yes.
here. Yeah, we both started about the same time as volunteers, and it's been quite a few years, hasn't it?
It's fun, though.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
I mean, that's the best part of it. There's so many things you can do with this.
Yeah. How did you decide to become involved with HCAM?
Through my tuba.
Your tuba?
I was playing in a community band in Medway, and we do an annual, or I'm no longer with the band. The band does an annual concert at St. John's every holiday season. And so I came to HCAM and said, can you put this on the bulletin board? And did that for a couple of years. And then we formed a community band here in Hopkinton. And our first concert came up, and I came to HCAM and said, hey, could you send some camera people and record this? And they dutifully did that. So I'm starting to get to know HCAM a little bit. Mm-hmm. The next year, and I think I must have started taking classes around then, the Medway band did the concert at St. John's, and I came and said, oh, could we film that? And Jim Cousin said, here, John, take a camera. So
It's all yours.
I wound up recording that, and that just led one thing into another, and I've been doing more and more productions every year.
I know you and I were trying to figure out when we went through the workshops, because I remember being in the workshops, and I thought it was March of 2006
Okay.
that I had first met you when we were going through the workshops. Well, my memory may have it
And
wrong.
my certificate says November, and now I don't remember if it's
Yeah.
2005 or 2006.
But it's been a few years, and we've had a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Now, there are many of the shows and productions that you're involved with. Do you have some favorites?
Oh. Yes, but in different categories. So sports, the school sports, I love doing those. And, I wouldn't have, years ago, if you had told me I'd be really, really into high school girls volleyball, I wouldn't have believed you. And now I'm one of the biggest supporters, and I love doing the sports. Are a ton of fun because they're fast, they're immediate, it's right then. You've got the fans going on, and you have to think fast on those, but it's a ton of fun. And the camera work is not that tough, and it makes such a difference to the town. We hear over and over again from people that are watching them say, thank you for recording this. I finally got to see my kid. Or my grandmother was watching out in California on YouTube. So those are a blast.
Oh, I love the high school sports, too. I know we
Yeah.
only do the varsity right now because we really don't have, the crew and time to do the junior varsity, but those students play their hearts
It's
out.
a blast.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Like you say, the volleyball, and then there's the basketball, both boys and girls, and then the football, and they play their hearts out. I really like the sports, too. But you do more than just camera work. You've done directing
I
and
direct
producing and
a little bit of everything. I'm actually, Mike Terosian and I are co-producers for most of the sports coverage. So, I'm in there early setting up cameras and getting things going. That's one fun thing. Another one surprising, again, poetry, which unfortunately is shutting down after this year, but for the last many years.
Oh, it's been on a long
We've
time.
been doing Wake Up and Smell the Poetry. And again, a Saturday morning poetry show. I wouldn't have believed that one, but that's been a blast. And I've heard so many wonderful performers over the years on that one. The other ones are the ones where I'm the principal producer, and those are concerts. So two big ones. There's the Summer Concert on the Commons series that I've been overseeing the recordings of those for at least 10 years now. And we take an entire portable studio out onto the town common and record these bands for a couple of hours. And I have a different crew every week, it seems. You've been there a lot. But we have it's a great opportunity for people to come and learn how to use a camera and hear some great music and see that really cool atmosphere out on the common of people having picnics and little kids running around and dancing, and
It is a very
that's a
special
good
time.
one. And then there's the school concerts. Like I say, I play tuba. I've been in bands, so I'm deeply into those bands playing. So it's been one of my goals to make sure that all of those are recorded.
Well, again, a lot of involvement, and we're going to talk more about HCAM and some of the other things you do with the station when we come back from this next commercial break. So stay tuned for more about All About Hopkinton after this quick break. Thank you.
This week on Frank and Mary in Hopkinton, Amy and Arthur sit down with tax aid volunteer Gene Warden.
That were new. It for people used to have to take out some from IRAs or annuities at 70 and a half years. Now it's moved up to 72.
You don't have to start taking until the year
72.
in which you turn 70.
Right.
Big deal for me, by the way, as it happens, because this is my year, right? I'm
Okay.
going to be 70 like in 2 weeks.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
This week on Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, local singer-songwriter Jay Singing Spirit Cunningham.
Wichita, do ya.
Okay, John, we're back from that nice little commercial break we had there. Again, something we're not used to doing in our shows, but I think this is kind of fun.
It is.
Yeah. So we were talking about HCAM and your involvement in some of your favorite productions, but there's other things you also do besides shows with HCAM. You are a board member.
I am. As I was saying, I started off just running one camera and running a few cameras, and it's evolved over the years. And a couple years back, I wound up becoming a board member. I'm currently the treasurer of HCAM. That's cool to see sort of the behind the scenes, what's keeping the station going and learning different aspects of that. And I've sort of side to that, I wound up looking at the statewide and national organizations for cable access stations and following them a little bit more. So yeah.
Yeah, I know you do that because I get your emails because I'm also on the board, and it's great that you follow that and let us know what's going on with those things and the potential changes that could impact
There's a lot going on with those.
Community productions, and so thank you for that.
Yep.
And then there's a new show that you started recently that's really, you should talk about it because it's fun.
I think Jim's getting tired of me pushing him on this one. It's called Toon Time. When I was growing up, every Saturday morning, I would be down in front of the television watching cartoons, and it would be the Bugs Bunnies and the Roadrunners and all of those. Those all went away. The networks decided they could make more money having talk shows and news shows on Saturday mornings. So gradually, all the cartoon shows are gone, and I wanted to bring them back. So I went out and I found public domain commercials. Probably about 35 hours of them, and I had to go through every single one of them because most of them were, since they're public domain, most of them were from the 30s and 40s. Sensibilities were a little different then.
A little bit, make them more a little bit politically correct and things. Yes, you did a lot of work. Mm-hmm.
So I had to go through each one of them and weed out the ones that really weren't good for airing right now, but we wound up with 15 or 16 hours of cartoons. So every Saturday morning now at 8 o'clock in the morning, get your bowl of cereal and watch HCAM because we'll have an hour of cartoons going there. Jim Cousins puts them together. Matt has done a great job. He finds jokes. So instead of commercial breaks, we have joke breaks. Mm-hmm. And they are the corniest, stupidest jokes you've ever heard, and I wind up laughing every time I hear them. He's done a fun job finding those.
But your Toon Time is for kids of all ages.
Absolutely. I think
From the youngest to the oldest can enjoy the show.
I love them.
Yeah.
Honestly, my target audience was like 3 and 4-year-olds, but as I say, I enjoy them just as much.
And there's probably a lot of young people that have never watched some of those cartoons, because like you say, some of them are 30s, 40s, and...
Oh, sure,
yeah.
and it's a lot of fun to see them.
Well, hopefully our audience will tune in on Saturday mornings and watch them.
And if you do, send us a note. I want to see if somebody other... I've heard of one other person that says he watches them, so I know at least 2 of us are watching. But and the other, one more thing on Toontime, I wrote the music for it. It has an opening theme that I actually thought of while I was hiking one time, and came up with a tune, and I came home and recorded it. And I've got a basement full of instruments, so I managed to overdub about 5 different instruments, including a tuba. And you'll hear it at the beginning and at the end of the show. So.
Well, I wish we had more time to talk about your music involvement with a lot of things, but unfortunately, we're running out of time.
No.
Yeah, can you believe the show went so
went fast.
I know. I guess they stuck in those 3 commercial breaks took a little bit of our time, but I want to thank you very much for being on the show, and thank our special crew for going through the workshop and doing this for us tonight, all the young ones and people of all ages. We want to get them involved with HCAM.
Great.
Come on down, learn how to run a camera or put together a show and
Get involved.
Thank you again, John, for being with us.
Thank you, Mary.
And for more information about HCAM and the things that we show here, please tune in. And remember that the Hopkinton Trails Club, visit the website listed at the end of the show. And thank you again for joining us this evening. If you know somebody who would like to be on the show or has an interesting impact on our community, please send an email. We'd like to hear about it, and perhaps you'll see them sharing their story right here on All About Hopkinton. I'm Mary Arnott, and thanks for watching. It went fast.
That went very
Nice
quickly.
show. Yeah.
It went okay.